Okay. So, all right, welcome back to our sixth episode for Cosmic Birth Code, where we're breaking down the astrological transits that are going on around us and within us on an everyday occurrence. I am the young conjurer, and I have with me the amazing. Yes, and we're bringing in the new year
Yeah.
2026. This episode is going to be a kind of a recap. We have been missing in action because Sagittarius season and part of Capricorn season has been crazy, 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 crazy. The fire
Yes.
to Earth, it seems like the Earth is burning on fire, literally. So, super excited to kind of bring this sixth episode in. So, we're going to dive into a little bit of a flashback with some of our transits and kind of talk about a little bit of our newer transits. So, starting off with December 7th, there was a Mercury trining Jupiter. Mercury was in Scorpio and Jupiter was in Cancer. With Jupiter being in Cancer in retrograde in the eighth house, while Mercury in Scorpio in the 12th house, a trine is a very harmonious energy.
Hmm.
It's within 120 degrees or four signs apart from each other. Four signs apart or 120 degrees for all my math whiz, all my geek people, all my number people. Because a lot of people kind of talk about astrology and it's like hoopla, woohoo stuff. And I'm like, it's really a lot of math,
Right.
especially if you're constructing your own chart. It's a lot of math. Thank God for computers. And it's a lot of history. It's a lot of history. A lot of history. So, yeah. As far as the keynotes with that particular transit during that time, if y'all can jog back y'all memory to December 7th before the crazy Christmas holiday season, a lot of optimism, a lot of generosity, making sure that, especially the gift giving season, so we were in the state of just being like a little bit more thoughtful with our words and with our actions. Being a little bit more positive, sharing our wisdom, sharing our truth, sharing our authenticity, and being much more clear with who you are, with your identity, with the direction that you want to go in life. There was a lot of traveling, a lot of learning during
Yes.
that particular time. Mercury being in the 12th house, to me, off rip, that would speak to, and I'm the woohoo lady, so I would assume that your spiritual line of communication, whether it be your psychic gift or your intuition, anything within that realm would be extremely heightened, or a sense of addiction to what people tell you, being too caught up on people's words, or the delusion or the illusion of what people are telling you, like pillow talking a little bit.
Right.
Um, so just understanding that people can come approach you with such bubbly positive energy, but they could have ulterior motives. The 12th house is a very deeper and darker um, house than
It
people
is.
care to realize. Um,
Right.
so so yeah, look, I don't want to overtake it. What is your commentary for this for December 7th, Mercury trining Jupiter?
I definitely believe it highlighted some hidden things because the 12th house and the 8th house is known for like that hidden energy in the occult. So you hitting it right on the head. I agree. It probably shines some light on some things that people have been ignoring or brought it to the surface for people. They realizing like, oh wow, I can't believe this is happening. This is what's going on. Or some people probably dealt with a little bit of a health scare with family or something of that nature. You know. Um Also with the 12th house you said Mars and Scorpio? Yes,
No,
definitely some
Mercury. Mercury.
Mercury in Scorpio. My apology. I definitely was seeing like there was definitely some conversations about some serious stuff going on with people's health and things of that nature and dealing with people's finances. I could see that as well. Or getting prepared for the holiday season and getting money in order for like who am I gonna get gifts for? What is this gonna how is this gonna affect my finances? So I definitely can see how that played out since then.
Yeah, that's heavy on the finances, especially with the eighth house. Like you said, the eighth house is about shared resources. I know quite a few people that are going through divorces and fighting over child custody or
Yeah,
financial issues, like what you're going to pay and what you're not going to pay. And
yeah,
that was probably a very, very big theme at the beginning of December. So a lot of communication, and honestly, regardless of the situation, it ended up working out in your favor. So good judgment, good favor. Mercury trining Jupiter. The notes that I put out was making mountains out or molehills out of mountains. I'm thinking
yeah.
about the future, hoping for the best, big ideas and confident opinions. So people had a lot to say with a lot of vigor, or in other words, a lot of confidence or trust in what they have to say, regardless of how it comes out. So I
Yes.
definitely agree with everything that you said. Do you have any other commentary before we move on to the next transit?
No. No. No, I don't.
So I kind of wrote down for December 8th, so the following day, Mars was squaring Saturn. Mars in Sagittarius in the first house, with Saturn being in Pisces in the fourth house, which we'll kind of go over a little bit of Saturn moving over to Aries. For all my
Yeah.
Saturn returners, especially my
Yeah.
people that's turning 28, 27, 29, Saturn in Aries is going to be hitting our second house. For me, it's hitting my ninth house, but when it starts,
Mhm.
I think it's hitting the second house. So your personal finances will definitely take a big magnifying glass into that aspect. But with a square, it's essentially 90 degrees or three signs apart. So trine is four signs apart, a square is three signs apart. So there's a lot of tension with the square. When you think of the square, it's very hard, rigid, masculine expression of energy. It's very rough. It's gonna give you a lot of lessons and a lot of things to think about, a lot of contradiction. And it doesn't necessarily mean even with squares, like nothing good is ever gonna happen. It definitely gives the energy of a diamond formed under pressure.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So some of the keynotes that I put for Mars squaring Saturn, like I said, was in Sagittarius in the first house of self, what you represent, your identity and physical appearance, what, and also with the fourth house is with the home and the family and the comfort and your mood. A little bit of structure, I would say, as well, but it brought internal tension between action and hesitation. So, coming off of December 7th with speaking and moving and your ideas and planning, and then you go into the Mars energy, it's like you want to move in a positive direction, but Saturn is like, hey, take a step back. Let's think about, are we implementing our ideas, our dreams, our aspiration, our goals, our manifestation? Are we putting in necessary work to get to that arrived destination? You may come across particular obstacles. Like I said, with the eighth house, Jupiter being in the eighth house is other people's finances. There may be have been some type of tension with how much you're going to divvy out, how you're going to pay your bills, who's getting what. It was a lot of just like, hey, we're going to have to figure this out in order to be successful in the long end, in the long run. Having confidence and endurance and being aware or having a better sense of timing within your life. Not saying that you have to rush everything, you have to have a certain timeline to execute within your life, but making sure that you're moving in that direction that you need to move. And you're finishing, completing what you set out to do, and not allowing certain obstacles or limitations or rejections to hinder you from that particular success. So, what are some of your commentaries, Celestial, for the Mars squaring Saturn?
With Mars squaring Saturn, I definitely agree with a lot of what you said, and piggybacking off of that. with a square happening, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't always have to be something negative, but it does require you to put forth action. Like, think about chiseling stone, almost like, hey, you put in this effort to chisel this stone, you're gonna come out with a great sculpture. And that's how I feel about Saturn and squaring Mars and stuff. Because Saturn is a planet of like responsibility. I always like to call it Daddy Saturn. And with it having to work with Mars, you definitely have to make sure you're initiating your energy towards things that can bring you the discipline and the reward. No, bring you to have discipline so you can be rewarded. That's how I think about it. That's really when it comes down to that. And then with it being in Pisces, it can relate to like maybe you had to give up something, a substance that you abused, or food, a vice that you enjoyed, to really reach a certain goal. I definitely gave up some vices of my own this month. I will say that I truly enjoyed, that I know is just not helping me anymore. So. December 8th, then that's December 8th, and I agree with, yeah, I definitely gave up some of my favorite vices this month just because I know that sacrificing those vices will give me the reward in the long run. So I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think with Saturn, it pushes you to
Hmm.
really let's really take a step back. We need a lot more structure. Pisces is all over the place. It's free, it's wild, it's a water sign. It's swimming
Yes.
in two opposite directions at all times. So Saturn is like, hey, like chill out. Like we gotta
Let's have some kind of
we gotta
structure.
know where we're going. Yeah, honestly, the best way to describe Saturn and Pisces is like art, a painter, right? So you have the paint, you have the paintbrush, you have a blank canvas. You have all this creative energy, which the paintbrush and the paint and the canvas would be that Piscean energy. But the structure comes in when you're applying the technique or the image that you want to create or whatever. You're stroking the lines and you're putting in the right stuff for whatever you're painting, whether it's a person, a building. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing with Saturn being in Pisces. It's a very creative time. It's outputting and pushing out those creative ideas and plans and projects and seeing it into fruition. So yeah, definitely. Let's kind of gotta move on to
Yes.
December 11th. On December 11th, Mercury was in Sagittarius, and that was still in Sagittarius season. And Mercury will be in Sagittarius till January 1st. So today is the 31st. So it ends tomorrow. But during this kind of 2 to 3 week period, there was a lot of learning, a lot of expanding with the mind and the knowledge and communication, having a lot more optimism about our particular situations and having a stronger belief system and having stronger faith and whichever direction that we truly want to go to. As far as like speaking that and manifestation, everybody talks about manifestation and they don't necessarily really focus on speaking. Your speech has to match with your actions and your thought process. So if you're not thinking and speaking and moving in the energy that you want to be in, it will never come to fruition. So what is your commentary for that?
With Mercury and Sagittarius, I'm actually kind of happy that it is moving out of the sign of out of the sign of Sagittarius soon, simply because it was sitting in my first house of self, and I'm like, oh my god, communication was definitely something I focused on this month, and it just expressing myself and how I feel about things. So definitely, I agree with you. Have to know expansion, and I wonder, it makes me think about with Mercury ruling over Gemini and Virgo, and Sagittarius being the sister sign of Gemini. I don't believe, I know it has some kind of conflicts up in there, but I do believe like Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius definitely gives someone an expansive vocabulary in a sense to like express themselves, but it would seem like quick bursts. I feel like that's what I feel. That's just what I feel about Mercury and Sagittarius, because you could be right, but are you choosing the right time and the place? And I will say Mercury and Sagittarius definitely this month had me thinking about, hey, is this the time and place for this? Although I do feel these emotions, is this the proper? Is the time? Is it the time for that? Yeah.
Yeah, Mercury in Sagittarius definitely gives me a person who is very jolly and joyful in their
Hmm.
speech, but they can be very honest and blunt about their opinions. So
Yes.
they can be like the jokester, like they're that elevated version to me of Gemini. Like if you
Yes.
get a Gemini and a Sagittarius together, they're in cahoots for a good time. Like they're gonna be talking shit about any and everybody and having a jolly good time with that. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. But let's kind of move along to the new moon that happened on December 19th. There was a new moon in Sagittarius. With in Memphis, it was in the fifth house. And okay, let's repeat. Let's repeat. All right, so moving on to December 19th, we had a new moon in Sagittarius within West Tennessee. It was in the
Hmm.
fifth house. And in
Yes.
Central Texas, it was in the sixth house. The new moon hit right at 7:45 p.m. in both locations or both areas. That new moon was very powerful. Like I December
Hmm.
19th, I was feeling fire and desire, and I just got super motivated, super excited to just kind of usher in the new year, bring in, as they say, you gotta take your vitamin D. Sometimes you just gotta ride the wave, as they say. And
Yes.
and just kind of usher in a different sense of energy for yourself. Get a little bit more clear-headed about the direction that you want to take. I had was planning to make floor water, and during that time, I was like, I got to get my home ready. I got to get my energy ready. I got to get this energy flowing for the new year. Now, I do want to talk about the fact that the new moon in Sagittarius was at the 28th degree, and that is a later degree because within astrology, you have 30 degrees. It does start at zero and it goes all the way to 29. There isn't technically a 30 degree that they talk about, but with the 28th degree, it's in the later stages of that energy, and they consider that the anaretic degree or the Cancerian degree. And it's coming into the sense of a turning point, a transition, a sense of like closing out a cycle and moving on to the next. So, what is your commentary for that new moon in Sag?
That new moon in Sagittarius definitely lit a fire under me that I did not realize I needed. So I definitely agree with you when I say like when you said that it will be it just made you want to prompt and do the things that you've been wanting to do already. You already had a plan for it. You just needed that extra boost of energy. And that's what I love about Sagittarian energy is that it is that mutual fire energy that is promoting change. And that's what I love about it being smack dead, well, I ain't gonna say right there in the middle, but it is essentially that crossover between the fall into the winter because you do need that spark of energy to go ahead and push through and fight the seasonal. I'm not gonna say seasonal depression, but it since the sun goes down a little bit earlier in some places and things of that nature, and we have to deal with daylight savings time and stuff. That Sagittarian energy definitely has promoted to keep up with the winter cleaning, preparing for the holidays, getting through that month of like let me go ahead and finish the semester strong with school and things of that nature. I definitely have seen that for me. Even myself, like it has gave me that boost of energy. Let me just go. Let me make sure I'm prepared for work. Let me make sure Christmas is handled and I'm ready for the new year. Like I've already done my vision board and everything last week when the new moon happened because it promoted that energy to go ahead and initiate what needed to be done.
Oh, Sagittarius is the fort, as we talked about in our previous episode when we discussed
Hmm.
the mythology and the understanding and the psychology of Sagittarius. Its glyph is a literal arrow. He was an archer.
Yes.
So when you
Yes.
aim and you pull the trigger, oh, it's going in whichever direction you hit it. So if you're gonna hit something, you better hit it with strong intentions. So I definitely agree with you on that. And now let's move on to December 20th. Venus was squaring Saturn. So like I said, a square is 90 degrees or three signs apart. There's going to be some tension, there's going to be some struggle, there's going to be a little bit of frustration. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have a beautiful outcome or success to that. So with Venus squaring Saturn, some of the
Yes.
keynotes that I wanted to talk about because Venus was in Sagittarius, Saturn was in Pisces. Learn better boundaries, know how to trust better, use better caution around love. Open up to love, soften up, be a little bit more vulnerable. If you struggle with vulnerability and allowing yourself to embrace that, vulnerability will soften you up, will sweeten you up. Accept that energy. Soften up to relationships. There may be problems due to delays or fear or rejection, but you just have to put a little bit more attention and time into love. So, what is your commentary with the Venus squaring Saturn for December 20th?
Um, my little commentary, I don't really have much to say because Venus squaring Saturn is definitely giving the tough love aspect in my mind. You gotta toughen up a little bit. You gotta be a bit more responsible in the things that you like to indulge in or in things that bring you that type of Venus Vespasian things, like relaxing, the beauty. I feel like it would have been definitely a good time to watch your spending. If anything, just be mindful of like, why am I buying this? Do I want it or do I need it, etc., etc. Especially with the holiday ramping up, I can see how that Venus squaring Saturn energy can definitely play tricks on people with like, I need to be a bit more cautious about how I'm handling things. I need to be a little bit more responsible because if not, I could deal with some repercussions of some things that I quite frankly would you could take the joy out of life with, with Saturn. And I'm gonna keep saying Saturn is all about being disciplined so you can be rewarded.
Hello. It is
Hmm.
not going to give you the reward until you actually put in that effort and that work. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest lessons for me. It's like, so I'm heavy Saturn dominant due to my Aquarius stellium. And Saturn is like, okay, girl, that's cute, but how are you
Mhm.
going to implement all of these crazy, funky ideas? Like, what's the reality of it? So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Moving on, we're gonna gloss over a little bit with Venus and Capricorn. And when Venus ingressed into Capricorn on December 24th, it will stay in Capricorn until January 17th. I think the quickest side note that I can talk about with Venus and Capricorn, there's a sense of upper echelon, a sense of really giving yourself the ultimate treatment in terms of what you truly desire and what you love, and if and not settling for just any old thing. Knowing what you want and going after it full force. Within Central Texas, Venus ingressed in Capricorn in the 11th house on December 24th, and within West Tennessee, West Tennessee. West
Mhm.
Tennessee was in the 10th house. So 11th house is all about community, friends, socialism, or social media. So there may have been a sense of public relationships or really just showcasing who you're in love with, proposals during the holiday season. And then with the 10th house, there may be a sense of accomplishment with self-love or love of others or within your marriage or an acknowledgement of it. What is your commentary for that particular transit?
Venus and Cap moving into Capricorn is definitely giving money making season. I don't care. Any Venus and Capricorn person I have met has always been a go getter when it comes down to their finances. They are definitely not sitting around waiting on the money to come to them. They are going to get it. And if they're not going to mess with somebody who does not have the money, like they cannot be around broke people. I could definitely see that. Or they can't share their body with someone who isn't financially secure. I definitely see that with Venus and Capricorn. And now with it being in that sign until next year, I definitely can see where people have to put their money where their heart is or where their mouth is. At this time of the year, definitely working hard to set up the goals and things that you love for yourself, because Saturn and Venus, you have a malefic planet with a benefic planet, Venus. And although it may seem like they argue, they kind of have a love-hate relationship, because Saturn loves Libra. Saturn is
Hmm.
exalted in the sign of Libra. So there's some love there, especially when, because it takes responsibility and being disciplined to really receive the things that you want. You got to go to work. You got to have a positive working routine to receive the benefits of the money, or things that money can the things that money can buy. So I definitely see that Venus and Capricorn energy promoting people to make sure that they are going after things that can bring them a sense of security.
Capricorn is the earth sign, and they're cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
They're initiators. They're gonna
Yes.
start it off. And one thing I feel like, even when we say they're initiators, they're not gonna finish it. Capricorns are gonna be the finishers. They're gonna last the endurance of whatever they put their minds to. So I definitely 100% agree with that. But
Yes.
moving on to stay on topic and on schedule, we have
Yes.
more current transits. Like I said, we're doing a overview or recap, but for the
Yes.
future ones, today is December 31st. On January 3rd of 2026, we are starting off with a full moon in Cancer at 4:04 a.m. in West Tennessee. It will be
Yes.
in the eighth house. And in
Yes.
Central Texas, it will be in the eighth house. So there, that eighth house energy, we started off December with eighth house energy. We're gonna start off January with the eighth house energy. So there's a lot of things to uncover and drag out, especially within our emotional space. With the moon being in the eighth house, there's a lot of deep, deep, deep emotional issues that are going to be pulled out. Um, it's going to cause
Mm-hmm.
you to want to change and redirect and transform who you are, your identity, your habits, your diet, your sensuality, your aspect with women or with the mother figure, the archetype of that. With it being in Cancer. It's just a very intuitive time. So there's going to be a heightened sense of psychic gifts, your dreams, your intuitions is going to shift or heighten in a new direction that's beneficial for you. Also, a shift in finances, a big shift in finances. So, what is your commentary for the full moon in Cancer on January 3rd?
Actually excited to see this full moon in Cancer, because I truly enjoy the moon being at home. Uh, because like you said, it highlights that feminine energy that we all need to embrace more. More people may have more communication, like you said, have more communication with like their feminine aspects of themselves, or even like the mother within the home, or how they identify with their mother and things. And it'll be a good time to release all those whole old feelings as well. With going into the new year, we all know that 2025 has been a roller coaster for some people. It's been great for some, but definitely a roller coaster for others. So that I know that a lot of people are trying to release that energy from 2025, and this full moon will be a good time to cry that stuff out and let it go. Cry it out and really embrace walking into a clean slate for yourself. That's why I'm so happy we're having a new moon so early in the year. Well, so early in a month rather,
A
opposed
full
to
moon.
later. A full moon, yes, a full moon. earlier in the month opposed to having it later within the month, because it gives everyone an opportunity to really just start over and release what haven't been serving them on an emotional plane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to bring up some very buried, deep buried emotions that has been kind of lying and hidden, and it's going to be brought to the surface because the full moon is all about illumination or illuminating or highlighting. It's not a new
Mhm.
moon where everything is hidden. So things are definitely going to be brought to the light that haven't really been shared before, or have
Right.
it's going to bring a sense of clarity amongst the confusion. So yeah, moving on to some transits going on in January. So on January 7th, the Sun will be in Capricorn, Venus will be in Capricorn, Mars will be in Capricorn, and they will all be conjuncting each other. I think that with the Sun, Venus, and Mars being in all Capricorn, I just think that's going to be a time of clear direction, um, clear direction, clear wisdom, being able to execute any of your plans that you're wanting to see to fruition, and also being recognized. There may be a sense of elevation in love, elevation in how you work out or eat or go about some of your lifelong passions.
Mhm.
And with the sun in Capricorn, that's going to be a sense overhaul of what your complete mission is on this earth. Um, then also, so with January 14th, Mercury will be in opposition to Jupiter. Mercury, like we said, is going to be in Capricorn. Jupiter will still be in Cancer, but it'll be retrograding. The biggest takeaway from January 14th, Mercury opposing Jupiter transit, is that you're going to be a lot more happier, joyful, optimistic, friendly. There may be some challenges or issues, but you'll be able to push forward with that and let it to roll off your shoulders. So what is your commentary for the January 7th and January 14th transits?
Um, I really don't have much. I'm just kind of I'm really excited, really, especially with January being a full month for me. I do believe like there's gonna be you're gonna be facing those suppressed emotions. Go ahead and face them. Go ahead and face them. It's okay. And if there's, I feel like it's a great time. Usually they say don't start. Well, I'm not gonna say they say don't start, but I'm gonna say I would feel like this is a good year. If you got a New Year's resolution, this gives you the energy to stick to it. I definitely believe that with that conjunction with the Sun, Venus, you said Mars as well in Capricorn.
Hmm.
Definitely a good time to stick to your New Year's resolutions, your vision boards, and put forth that effort to keep going towards bettering yourself as a person. I definitely agree with that. And with Jupiter retrograding and back into the sign of Cancer, I definitely, yeah, it's gonna be some big feelings going on. I definitely see people probably working more to kind of suppress what's going on, but that Jupiter and Cancer energy is just not gonna allow people to ignore what's really going on beneath the surface.
Okay. Yeah, that's beautiful. I definitely love that synopsis. But let's move on to the art of astrology, where we're going to focus on Capricorn season because we're going to give them so much love and tender attention. Um, As far as with the art of astrology, going over
Hmm.
Capricorn. Capricorn starts on December 22nd and goes all the way to January 20th. Capricorn element is an earth sign. Their glyph, or with short, the long version of glyph is a hieroglyph. It is a goat, as some people see, or the traditional sea goat, the goldfish, that some of the symbolic, not symbology, but some of the glyphs or the pictures that you would see of the Capricorn. It is, like I said, an earth sign. It's also the 10th sign in the zodiac, and it governs over the 10th house. It is, like I mentioned before, Capricorn is a cardinal sign, so it's an initiator. It starts off the new season, winter season or winter solstice. Its domicile, or where it is comfortable, where its home is within Saturn. Its detriment, or where it has issues or it doesn't feel very comfortable, is within the moon. Is its exalted in Mars, which is where it shows its most potent and most highest potential within a planet, will be in Mars. And its fall is in Jupiter. Fall is basically where it is weakened or lessened in a sense. The body parts that Capricorn goes over is the bones, skeletons, the knees, skin, gallbladder, and spleen. Um, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is very, to some people, can be seen as a very challenging and difficult planet to be in. But I feel like Saturn is the father. It definitely represents looking out for the best in you and wanting the best in you, but giving you that tough love and those hard decisions
Yes.
over time. Because it's going to give that structure, it's going to give that discipline, it's going to give that patience in towards of anything that you're wanting to accomplish in life. And that's a little bit of backstory behind, or a general backstory of this Capricorn. But as far as the stereotypes, because that's one of the things we kind of wanted to highlight with Capricorn season, the stereotypes of them, they're very strict, they're very cold. They hear that they're cutthroat, they're money hungry, they're bougie, emotionless. They're very big on responsibilities and obligations. They love money, they love power, they love status, they love very, very nice and expensive things. They're very big on structure and boundaries. But I think the misconception with Capricorns is not that they just like all of that stuff because it's the most funnest thing to be around, but it's because they know that life is meant to be lived in a much more calm and balanced way. And I think that goes back to the sea goat. With you have the goat in the upper body, and then you have the fish in the lower body. The fish represents the very spiritual aspect that's being anchored by that very materialistic and, or not materialistic, but materialized and structured reality. So they understand that you have to kind of play the long game and put in the right things to attain the materials and the recognition and the awards within life. Um, so what's some of your commentary for the stereotypes within Capricorn?
Yeah. What I believe you've covered everything, a lot of things as well. But I will say a lot of stereotypical things I hear about a Capricorn is that they are hard workers or they overwork. I'm not gonna get don't get me wrong. I've never met a broke Capricorn. Not saying that there ain't none that exist. They gonna go to work. They are. But I definitely realize that they do have issues with their joints. They really do. And another thing, Daddy Saturn gets such a bad rep. That planet just wants you to be responsible. They just want you to have a little common sense. Please just apply a little common sense to it. Please, a little discipline, and it ain't gonna be too bad. I think that's why a lot of times, like when we have our Saturn's return or whatever, a lot of people are faced with being a lot more responsible than they have ever had to be in their 20s. So that one, another stereotype, almost another stereotype that I definitely see a lot of when it comes down to Capricorns is that they don't know how to show emotion. It's not that they don't know how to show emotion; they just have to see the logic behind the emotion that's being shown. I do believe that out of the three Earth signs, Capricorn holds the deepest amount of emotion because with Cancer being their sister sign, they're a lot more emotional than what they let off, but they know that this isn't going to make me any money, this isn't going to pay my bills. Let me suppress those feelings. They are actually, in my opinion, huge lovers. They are major lovers, in my opinion. But with the stereotype of them just being such hard workers, they oftentimes are missed it's missed that they are so sensitive. They're quite sensitive. That's why they don't allow themselves to be emotional. I definitely
They
see that.
definitely, yeah, they definitely safeguard their emotions a lot more in a more realistic type of way. Like Virgos, they have emotions, but it's very just methodical.
Yeah.
Tauruses, they have emotions, but they buried away. They're just like, no, 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 no. The Capricorns, they're very honest with, well, they tend to be honest with themselves, but they can put up a front because it's like you said, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. So why am I wasting
Right.
my energy on that?
Hmm.
So you definitely hit the nail on that. Um, that was kind of a quick little overcast of Capricorn stereotypes because we don't want to make this super, super long. We're gonna segue into astrology after dark, where we kind of focus on some of the general kinks of the Capricorn sign. So,
Hmm.
well, with the Capricorns, it seems like they live up to the stickler energy, whether it's a man or a woman. They tend with the men, they tend to go for people who are experienced or uh not first or second pick. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but if it's they're gonna go for somebody that society deems not worthy of, or they're gonna go for a woman who is very promiscuous, who is very experienced within
Yeah.
her sensuality of it all, so to speak. Um, the men will tend to go for people who are of service to them. So they're very patriarchal in terms of the women that they go after. They can be very shy and sweet. That's what they would society tell them that they need, but they realistically do like dominating or domineering women. As
Hmm.
much as they try to run away from it, that's just kind of what they want. They tend to really shoot low. Capricorn men can give off a sense of low self-esteem, and then that may be due to the fact that they're always chasing tail, which within Greek mythology, and was associated with Capricorn because he was always chasing nymphs. He was always chasing the women that he can never get. And so that kind of translates over into the reality of a lot of Capricorn men in particular. Like they're going after all these women or people and they don't they're not successful, so they just go for whatever ends up getting in the net, so to speak. Now for the women, they tend to like much more intelligent men. Um, they'll tend to also like men that are a little bit more emotionally intelligent as well,
Hmm.
because they tend to hide that aspect within themselves. So what's some of your commentary for some of the general keys for Capricorn?
For the males, like you said, I do believe they do like more promiscuous women or women that don't mind taking a risk. Um, and then for the women, I believe that they try hard not to get caught up in that rhetoric of taking care of a man because there's so a lot of women I've noticed that have heavy Capricorn energy in their chart, they are always making money and they always want a partner that makes them feel secure. So if they have to take care of their partner, it can kind of be a little bit emasculating for the man. And that woman doesn't want a man that she feels like she's being more than a man of. I definitely agree with that. And then I truly believe like they are very sexually liberated, but it's not something that is going to be like, oh, I like doing this, I like doing that. You have to catch them when they want to be vulnerable. I do believe Capricorns have a hard time being vulnerable with people at certain times. Like they have to build a repertoire with you. It's not that they're scared of anything. They can talk about it, but they're not going to be as vulnerable about certain things.
Yeah, what I will say with Capricorn women, they deal with control issues and repression
Yes.
really, really, really bad. And I
Yeah.
think even though they can have a tendency to be, sexually free, but if they don't reach that level, there's a sense of just like over controlling, overbearing, over cautious, very slow to get into something, and they have a sense of repression about themselves. Like one of their kinks is definitely having sex, but in a very private way. Like,
Yes.
and it can almost translate to like a sense of not being able to be vulnerable and open themselves up and being a little bit more free. I don't know. In my experience with with observing Capricorn women, they tend to be a little bit more closed, especially if they come from a sense of trauma. They tend to be a little bit more closed off in terms of their sexual expression. So yeah, I don't know. The men and women are different. Because within Greek mythology, like I said, Pan was the masculine representation for Capricorn, but you had, I want to say it was Amila or Athila. I think that
Hmm.
was her name. Yeah, no, Amalthea. Yeah, she was the female representation for Capricorn because she was nursing baby Zeus. And that was a whole story behind baby Zeus trying to be ate up by his damn daddy. His daddy was paranoid about his kids taking over, and so he was trying to kill all his kids. A mafia had took him in and nursed him and protected him and hid him away. And so uh, pointing to that mothering energy, it's like Capricorn women can't help but be very loving and doting and nurturing, but that runs the issue into drawing in men that love that energy and they can't really give them all that they need, sexually or emotionally within a relationship. So yeah, that's kind of some of the general kinks. I would say if it is a straight man, he's definitely gonna go for younger women, dark-haired women. He'll probably be into pimping culture or pimping kink. For the gay Capricorn men, they would like younger men, cowboys, them being skinny, or role reversal. As far as the women, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But for the women, if they are straight, younger men, smart, a man in uniform, they love to dominate. They love hygiene and they love a good fantasy. For the lesbians, women, or yeah, the ones that like women that are Capricorns, they love a curvy body. They're into vanilla sex. They do love orgasms and feet and toes, and casual sex is kind of on the top of their list. But yeah, would you have any other commentary for some of the general?
Actually, no. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Like
You
they're
are
pretty
so right.
chill. I don't know. I feel like Capricorns are pretty chill when it comes to like their kinks. It's nothing like super crazy. And it's funny because it mentions like vanilla, and I was like, that's what they kind of give me, like very. I have Aquarius and Venus, so I can't. Vanilla to me is like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, like you don't got no excitement, you don't want to switch it up a little bit, but hey,
Right.
that's it's different strokes for different folks. But
I
we're we're gonna close this sixth episode session out. It was a pleasure to kind of go over Capricorn seasons and some of the old transits. But we'll catch you next time on the next
Yes,
episode.
very soon.
Yes.
And we will be talking about our good sis Aquarius.
My
Yes.
favorite sign. I love Aquarius. I love the
Yes.
energy. I love it. But we will catch you on the next episode and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching.